Nanda Gori Vaishnav Vrindi ki, Namacharya Das Thakur ki, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advait Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindi ki, Type of Premanande, all goddess assembled devotees, all goddess assembled devotees, all goddess assembled.
Hari Hari Bol.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Bhagavate
Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 8, Prayers by Queen Kundi. Today's verses 46 to 48. Read 46 first. Vyasadei Ishvara
Ishvara.
Iha
Iha
Yai
Ni
Krishnena
Krishnena
Albhudakarmana
Adbhuta Karmana
Adbhuta Karmana.
Prabhodita
Prabodhita
Api
Abhi
Itihase
Itihasi
Itihase.
Na
Na.
Abudhyada
Abhudhyata
Abudhyada.
Sucharpida
Sucharpita
Sujarpita.
Vyasaideshvare Yajne
Vyasadai Ishvare
Vyasaide Ishvare Hatne
Vyasadai Ishvare Hajnai.
Krishnena Albhudakarmana
Krishnena Nalbhuda Karmana.
Prabodhido Abhidihase
Prabodhido Avidihase.
Nabudhyada Shucharpida
Nabudhyada Sujarpita.
Vyasaide Ishvara Hatne
Vyasadai Ishvara Hajnai.
Krishnena Albhudakarmana
Krishnena Nalbhuda Karmana.
Prabodhido Abhidihase
Prabodhido Avidihase.
Nabudhyada Shucharpida
Nabudhyada Sujarpita.
Vyasaide Ishvare Hatne
Vyasadai Ishvara Hajnai.
Krishnena Albhudakarmana
Krishnena Adbhuta Karmana.
Prabodhido Abhidihase
Prabodhido Avidihase.
Nabudhyada Shucharpida
Nabudhyada Sujarpita.
Sharajamaji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vyasadai Ishvare Ajnai. Krishnena Nalbhuda Karmana. Prabodhido Pidihase. Nabudhyada Sujarpita. Hare Krishna.
Manohari Maji.
Hare Krishna. Vyase Derishware Hajne Krishnena Albhuda Karmana Prabodhido Abhidihase Nabudhyada Sujarpitaha. Hare Krishna.
Shikala Maji.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vyasedair Ishwarehajnai Krishnena Adbhuta Karmana Prabodhito Apita Api Idihasair Na Buddhyayata Shucharpitaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Yes. Mirinda Maji.
Hare Krishna. Vyasadirishvara Hajne Krishnena Adbhuta Karmana Prabodhito Apita Hasir Na Budhyata Shucharpitaha. Vyasa Adhe, by great sages headed by Vyasa, Ishvara, the Almighty God, Iha, by the will of, Gne, by the learned, Krishnena, by Krishna himself, Adbhuta Karmana, by one who performs all superhuman work, praboditaha, being solaced, api, although, itihase, by evidences from the histories, na, not, abudhyata, satisfied, sucha, arpitaha, distressed. Translation: King Yudhishthira, who was much aggrieved, could not be convinced, despite instructions by great sages headed by Vyasa and the Lord Krishna himself, the performer of superhuman feats, and despite all historical evidences. Purport: by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. The pious king Yudhishthira was mortified because of the mass massacre of human beings in the battle of Kurukshetra, especially on his account. Duryodhana was there on the throne and he was doing well in his administration, and in one sense, there was no need of fighting. But on the principle of justice, Yudhishthira was to replace him. The whole clique of political centered around this point, and all the kings and residents of the whole world became involved in this fight between the rival brothers. Lord Krishna was also there on the side of King Yudhishthira. It is said in Mahabharata, Adi Parva 20, that 640 million men were killed in the 18 days of the Battle of Kurukshetra, and some hundreds of thousands were missing. Practically, this was the greatest battle in the world within 5,000 years. This mass killing, simply to enthrone Maharaja Yudhishthira, was too mortifying, so he tried to be convinced with evidences from histories by great sages like Vyasa and the Lord himself that the fight was just because the cause was just. But Maharaja Yudhishthira would not be satisfied, even though he was instructed by the great personalities of the time. Krishna is designated herein as the performer of superhuman actions, but in this particular instance, neither he nor Vyasa could convince King Yudhishthira. Does it mean that he failed to be a superhuman actor? No, certainly not. The interpretation is that the Lord be a super the interpretation is the Lord as Ishvara or the super soul in the hearts of both King Yudhishthira and Vyasa performed still more superhuman action because the Lord desired it. As super as super soul of King Yudhishthira, he did not allow the king to be convinced by the words of Vyasa and others, including himself, because he desired that the king hear instructions from the dying Bhishma Deva, who was another great devotee of the Lord. The Lord wanted that, at the last stage of his material existence, the great warrior Bhishma Deva see him personally and see his beloved grandchildren, King Yudhishthira, etc., now situated on the throne, and thus pass away very peacefully. Bhishma Deva was not at all satisfied to fight against the Pandavas, who were his beloved fatherless grandchildren, but the Kshatriyas are also very stern people, and therefore he was obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because he was maintained at the expense of Duryodhana. Besides this, the Lord also desired that King Yudhishthira be pacified by the words of Bhishma Deva, so that the world could see that Bhishma Deva excelled all in knowledge, including the Lord himself. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Verse 47. Aha,
Aha,
Raja,
Raja,
Dharmasudha,
Dharmasudha,
Chintayan,
Chintayan,
Chintayan
Sudam,
Suhridam,
Madham,
Vadham
Vadham
Prakritena,
Prakritena,
Prakritena
Atmana,
Atmana,
Atmana
Vipra,
Vipra
Sneha,
Sneha
Sneha,
Moha,
Moha,
Cham,
Vasam,
Vasam
Gada,
Gada,
Gada
Ahara,
Maharaja Dharmasuda,
Ahara,
Maharaja
Maharaja
Dharmashtra
Dharmasudha
Dayan Suhrdam Navatham,
Chintayan, Suhridam,
Suhridam Vadham
Prakritena Atmana Vipra,
പ്രാകൃതേനാത്മനാ വിപ്രാ
സ്നേഹമോഹവശം ഗതാ
സ്നേഹമോഹവശം ഗതാ
അഹരാജ ധർമ്മസുദാസ്
ആഹാരാജാ ധർമ്മസുദാസ്
ചിന്തയൻ സുഹൃദം വദാം
ചിന്തയൻ സുഹൃദാം വദാം
Vadam.
പ്രാകൃതേനാത്മനാ വിപ്രാ
പ്രാകൃതേനാത്മനാ വിപ്രാ
സ്നേഹമോഹവശം ഗതാ
സ്നേഹമോഹവശം ഗതാ
ആഹാരാജ ധർമ്മസുദാസ്
ആഹാരാജാ ധർമ്മസുദാസ്
ചിന്തയൻ സുഹൃദാം വധം
ചിന്തയൻ സുഹൃദാം വദം
പ്രാകൃതേനാത്മാ വിപ്രാഹ
പ്രാകൃതേനാത്മനാ
സ്നേഹമോഹവശം ഗതാ
സ്നേഹമോഹവശം ഗതാ
രമാജി.
ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ പ്രഭുജി. ഓം നമോ ഭഗവതേ വാസുദേവായ. ആഹാരാജ ധർമ്മസുധാ ചിന്തയൻ സുഹൃദാം വദം പ്രാകൃതേനാത്മനാ വിപ്ര സ്നേഹമോഹവശം ഗതാ. ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ.
ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ. മനോ.
ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ. ആഹാരാജധർമ്മസുധാ ചിന്തയാൻ സുഹൃദാം വദം പ്രാകൃതേനാത്മനാ വിപ്രഹ സ്നേഹമോഹവശം ഗതഃ. ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ.
മിലിന്ദമാജി.
Hare Krishna. Aharaja dharmasutas chintayan suhradam vadham prakritinatmana vipraha snehamoha vasham gatha. Hare Krishna.
റൈറ്റ്. ശ്രീകലമാജി.
ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ. ഓം നമോ ഭഗവതേ വാസുദേവായ. ആഹരാജ ധർമ്മസുതാശ്ചിന്തയൻ സുഹൃദം വധം പ്രാകൃതേനാത്മനാ വിപ്രഹ സ്നേഹമോഹവശം ഗതഃ. Aha said, Raja, King Yudhishthira, Dharmasudha, the son of Dharma, Yamaraja, Chindayan, thinking of, Suhridam, of the friends, Vadham, killing, Prakritena, by material conception only, Atmana, by the self, Vipra, O Brahmana, Sneha, affection, Moha, delusion, Vasham, being carried away by, Gada, having gone. Translation. King Yudhishthira, the son of Dharma, overwhelmed by the death of his friends, was aggrieved just like a common materialistic man. O sages, thus deluded by affection, he began to speak. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. King Yudhishthira, though he was not expected to become aggrieved like a common man, became deluded by worldly affection by the will of the Lord, just as Arjuna was apparently deluded. A man who sees knows well that the living entity is neither the body nor the mind, but is transcendental to the material conception of life. The common man thinks of violence and non-violence in terms of the body. But that is the that's a kind of delusion. Everyone is duty bound according to one's occupational duties. A Kshatriya is bound to fight for the right cause, regardless of the opposite party. In such discharge of duty, one should not be disturbed by annihilation of the material body, which is only an external dress of the living soul. All this was perfectly known to Maharaja Yudhishthira, but by the will of the Lord, he became just like a common man because there was another great idea behind this delusion. The king would be instructed by Bhishma or Arjuna, as Arjuna was instructed by the Lord himself. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Verse 48. Aho
അഹോ
me
Me
pashyada
പശ്യത
ajnanam
Ajnanam
അജ്ഞാനം
hridi
Hridi
rudham
Rudham
ratmana
Suratmana
രാജ്ഞനാ
parakyasya
പാരക്യസ്യ
Parakyasya
eva
Eva
ഏവ
dehasya
Dehasya
ദേഹസ്യ
bahvaya
Bahvaya
me
Me
മേ
akshaunini
അശൗഹിണി
Akshauhini
hada
हदा
हदा
अहो मे पश्यदाज्ञानम्
अहो मे
अहो मे
पश्यदाज्ञानम्
पश्यदज्ञानम्
विरूढं दुरात्मना
हृदि
रूढं
रूढं दुरात्मना
पारक्यस्यैव देहस्य
पारक्यस्यैव देहस्य
बह्यो मे अक्षौणिर्गतहता
बह्वो मे
मे
अक्षौहिणीर्हदा
अक्षौहिणीर्हतः
अहो मे पश्यदाज्ञानम्
अहो मे पश्यदज्ञानम्
विरूढं दुरात्मना
विरूढं
विरूढं दुरात्मना
पारक्यस्यैव देहस्य
पारक्यस्यैव
पारक्यस्यैव
देहस्य
देवस्य
बह्यो मे अक्षौणिर्हता
बह्वो मे
भव्यो
अक्षौहिणीर्हदा
सरजमा जी।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। अहो मे पश्यदाज्ञानं हृदिरूढं दुरात्मना पारक्यस्यैव देहस्य भिक्षो मे अक्षौहिणीर्हदा। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे हरे
मनोरमा जी।
हरे हरे कृष्ण। अहो मे पश्यदज्ञानं हृदि रूढं दुरात्मनः पारक्यस्यैव देहस्य बह्व्यो मे अक्षौणिर्हतः। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्णा। यस श्रीकलमा जी।
हरे कृष्णा। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। अहो मे पश्यते ज्ञानं हृदि धृदात्मनः पारक्यस्यैव देहस्य भव्यो मे क्षौहिणीर्हतः। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्णा। मिलिंदमा जी।
हरे कृष्ण। अहो मे पश्यताज्ञानं हृदि रूढं दुरात्मनः पारक्यस्यैव देहस्य भव्यो मे अक्षौहिणीर्हतः। अहो
Yes.
ओ मे my pashyata just see ajnanam ignorance hridi in the heart rudham situated in duratmanaha of the sinful parakyasya meant for others eva certainly dehasya of the body bhavyah many may by me akshauhinihi combination of military phalanxes hataha killed. Translation: King Yudhishthira said, O my lord, I am the most sinful man. Just see my heart, which is full of ignorance. This body, which is ultimately meant for others, has killed many phalanxes of men. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. A solid phalanx of 21,870 chariots, 21,870 elephants, 109,650 infantry, and 65,600 cavalry is called an Akshauhini, and many Akshauhinis were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Maharaja Yudhishthira, as the most pious king of the world, takes for himself the responsibility for killing such a huge number of living beings because the battle was fought to reinstate him on the throne. This body is, after all, meant for others. While there is life in the body, it is meant for the service of others, and when it is dead, it is meant to be eaten by dogs and jackals or maggots. He is sorry because for such a temporary body, such a huge massacre was committed. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सागररघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् नामिने Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimade Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Vashabhanavi Devi Daityaya Kripapre Krishna Sambandha Vijnanadayine Prabhave Namah Madhuryojala Premadhya Rupanuga Bhaktida Gaura Shakti Vigrahaya Namastude Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinadarine Vanuga Viruddha Siddhanta Dvandaharine Namo Gauragishoraya Sakshal Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambode Padambujeye Te Namaha Nama Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Surubaya Rupanuga Varayade Gaura Virbhava Bhumistam Nirdeshta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhaumo Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha H.I. Goshe Koricharan Bandhan Jahamot Vignanash Abhishta Puran Vancha Kalpadrubhasya Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namam Panchatattvalmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Surupakam Bhaktavadaram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktigam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagalpade Gopesha Gopiga Kanda Radha Kanda Namastude Jayadam Sirdo Pangur Mamamanda Made Gade Mat Sarvaswapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrimadam Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Preshthalavissevyamano Smarami Sriman Rasarasarambi Vamshi Vadatadastidha Kashan Venuswanair Gopi Govinada Shriyetunam Taptaganjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare व्यासादेरीश्वरे ख्याज्ञै कृष्णेन अल्बुदकर्मणाम् प्रबोधितोऽपि इतिहासे नाबुध्यदा शुचार्पिता King Yudhishthira, who was much aggrieved, could not be convinced despite instructions from great sages headed by Vyasa and Lord Krishna himself, the performer of superhuman feats, and despite all historical evidence. Hare Krishna. So Krishna accepts all the prayers of Kunti Devi. He is very pleased with it. But he has to go back to Dwaraka. He wants to see. He re-entered the palace and sought permission from all the ladies, all the Matajis, senior Matajis, Satyavati Mataji, etc. And then he was about to leave for Dwaraka. Then King Yudhishthira came. Yudhishthira also stopped him. And Yudhishthira was full of love for Krishna. And Krishna is easily bound by such love of devotees. So although Krishna had thought of going to Dwaraka, he was stopped by his very sweet devotee, Yudhishthira, who was obviously in distress. Why was he in distress? Because he considered himself to be the cause for such a bloody massacre of human beings, of people. In the battle of Kurukshetra. And he thought because it is, or rather it was his wish to become emperor of Hastinapura or whole world that prompted the war. It's such a massive war that took place. And Srila Prabhupada quotes from Mahabharata, says that 65 crores of people were killed in this battle, this not battle, war. Such a disastrous, most havoc. And so much great loss. And Yudhishthira took it upon himself, the blame, thinking that he is to be blamed for this massacre of persons. Because one may think that he decided to become emperor, and you may can also decide because he decided to do the war, to enter the war, so that it could be established, that Yudhishthira could be established or throned as the emperor of whole world, capital being Hastinapura. Yudhishthira was thinking, what was the reason for this war? Duryodhana was doing okay, was a good administrator. Duryodhana was reputed to be a very good administrator. So, in general, people were not very unhappy under Duryodhana. So, what was the reason for this change? What was the necessity for this war, which sought to establish Yudhishthira as a supreme ruler by replacing Duryodhana? What is the logic behind this? Such was the thinking of Yudhishthira. But even from material point of view, in all fairness, Yudhishthira was qualified, or Yudhishthira had the right to be emperor, and not Duryodhana. Because their parents or their fathers, Yudhishthira's father Pandu and Duryodhana's Dhritarashtra, forgetting the names, Dhritarashtra were brothers. Dhritarashtra was the elder brother, Pandu was the younger brother. But Dhritarashtra was disqualified because he was blind. A blind man cannot rule, cannot be a king. Shastras meaning very clearly that handicapped, if the king is handicapped in any respect, any person is handicapped in any respect, he cannot be a king, because king needs all his senses, all his intelligence intact. It's a very difficult job of a king. So it's a major disqualification that Dhritarashtra was blind. So in his place, the younger brother Pandu was enthroned. He became the king. But later, Pandu had to leave. He went to forest, and the forest he met with the death. And then these children were brought back. 5 children plus Kundi Devi, because Madra had entered the pyre. She did the sati. So Kundi Devi was solely responsible for looking after these 5 children. And she brought it all. Bhishma arranged that they be brought back to Hastinapura. So the children of Pandavas, they came to Hastinapura, and by the right, because they were actually the sons of the emperor, so it was their right to become emperor. Although since they were minors, only 5 to 6 years old at the time, when they came back to Hastinapura, Yudhishthira became emperor. Is not actually emperor. He was a regent. He was put on as a regent only, not as emperor. A sort of stopgap arrangement till these children became mature enough to take hold of the administration, start ruling the kingdom. And in that temporary phase, Dhritarashtra became regent, but he was not the emperor. So, therefore, the children of Dhritarashtra did not have the right to become emperor. Only Pandavas actually had the right to become emperors. So, this was as per Dharma Shastra, as per Niti Shastra, it supported the case of Yudhishthira, and so Yudhishthira had to wage war, had to enter the battlefield, because Duryodhana and other Kauravas and their friends and everybody did not give the kingdom. They stuck onto it. They continued to rule this kingdom in spite of many compromise formulas put forward by Pandavas. It was all rejected by Duryodhana, and so the war was inevitable. That's why the war took place. So this is actually the background, but Yudhishthira was blaming himself, and so therefore great sages like Vedavyas, they tried to convince, even Krishna also, they tried to convince Yudhishthira by quoting from different scriptures and idihasas that it was only fair on the part of Yudhishthira to wage war. And so Yudhishthira need not be blamed for this. But व्यासायधे ईश्वरेह not ajne, knowledge. Or it is said that Vishnu Chakravarti says that Vedavyasa and other saints could not understand the purpose of Krishna. They were ignorant of Krishna's purpose. And because of that, and Krishna himself could not convince Yudhishthira. And Krishna is here described as Albhudakarmana, who performs great feats. He has done great feats right from he was 3 days old when he killed Putana, and right from there, he's a performer of great acts, astonishing performances. But here the most astonishing performance, the most Albhudakarmana here is Krishna acting as Paramatma, entered the hearts of, already there, he became active in the hearts of Vedavyas and Yudhishthira. And because Vedavyas could not understand the purpose of Krishna, he could not convince Yudhishthira. And because Yudhishthira was put under the spell by Krishna, he could not understand what Vedavyas was trying to say, was trying to convince him that you should not be blamed for this. It's all in order. That is war had took place. And Krishna also argued the same way. But Krishna's arrangement was that as a super soul inside the heart of Yudhishthira, he was prevented from understanding this simple thing. It's very fair only that Yudhishthira becomes a king, but even even a small thing he could not understand, although he's a greatly learned person. Of all the people around the time, Yudhishthira was supposed to be greatest of all dharmajnas. So even these small things, Dhritarashtra could not understand because of Krishna's Albhuda Karmana. And why Krishna did this? Because he knew that Vishwadeva was about to leave his body. Uttarayana is to start within a few days. And Bhishmadeva had this boon from his father that he can choose the day, he can choose his death. Swachanda Mrityu. So Krishna knew, of course, that now the Bhishma had planned to leave the body when the Uttarayana started. So Krishna wanted Yudhishthira, to learn about many shastras, Dharma Shastra, Nidhi Shastra, and Atmiya Shastra. Also, Yudhishthira, Bhishma's understanding of Krishna, the Supreme Personality. Because Bhishma Deva is one of the Mahajans. We know the 12 Mahajans are there, and Bhishma Deva is one of the Mahajan. And Mahajans are the persons who have the greatest knowledge and scriptures and greatest knowledge of the Supreme Personality Krishna. So Krishna wanted that Yudhishthira learn from Bhishma. So he arranged this as Paramatma. Vedavyas could not really convince Yudhishthira, and Yudhishthira could not be convinced because Krishna's Albhuda Leela. Yudhishthira could not understand or comprehend what Vedavyas and Krishna was saying. So Krishna knew that Vishwadeva wanted very much to see Krishna before he departed. There is an intense desire of the devotees at the last moment of their life. They can see Krishna, or at least hear his name as in Kali Yuga. So Bhishmadeva, being a very great devotee and very loving devotee to Krishna, Krishna wanted to satisfy his desires. And Maharaja Bhishma also wanted to see that Yudhishthira was there, and Yudhishthira was firmly established as an emperor. So these were the desires of Bhishma. So Krishna wanted to fulfill all these desires, and therefore he acted this Albhuda Karma. So in next verse, what is Yudhishthira is saying, it is described, Ahara Nyam Dharma Sudas Chintayan Sudam Vadham Pragadinatmana Vipra Snehamo Havasham Gada. King Yudhishthira, son of Dharma, overwhelmed by the death of his friends, was aggrieved just like a common materialistic man. O sages, thus deluded by affection, he began to speak. So who is the speaker now? Who is the speaker here? Who is speaking all these verses?
Yudhishthira.
No, this whole narration. Who is giving this whole narration?
Vyasa only.
Sutta Goswami, no? Sutta Goswami is narrating this. And to whom they are speaking? To whom he is speaking?
To the sages?
To the sages of Naimisharanya headed by Shaunaka. So that's why here, all sages, it is mentioned here, Brahmana, Vipra. Understand this?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Because it may not strike you sometimes, but we have to be very sharp. The context we should always remember, because Srimad Bhagavatam is done in 3 phases. One is Sudha Goswami speaking to Naimisharanya sages, The main thing is Shukadev Goswami speaking to Parishad along with this, all the sages. And then there is a conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. Ultimately, everything is narrated by Sudha Goswami only. But it appears sometimes in club that sometimes we don't know who is speaking, whether it's Shuga Goswami. Of course, Maitreya has not come so far. Whether it's Shukadev Goswami speaking, whether it's Sudha Goswami speaking, or whether Yudhishthira speaking. Of course, when you say he spoke, then he'll start speak. Then Yudhishthira will speak. Aha. Then next verse onwards, 48 onwards, it will come. But for the time being, the speaker is Sudha Goswami, and they are speaking to the Brahmanas or the sages of Naimisharanya. So here it is said that Yudhishthira was bewildered like a common man. Common man considers himself pragrata. Pragrata means he considers himself a body. And we are not these bodies. But sometimes under influence of Maya, the jiva will consider himself as a body or a matter, a product of matter, and act according to that. We have seen the 7th chapter, the realization of Vedavyas, verse 5. Yaya samhoido jiva atmanam trigunatmagam parobi manude anartham tatkridam chabivatyade. Due to this external energy, the Maya, living entity, although transcendental to 3 modes. Actually, they are the living entities beyond 3 modes, but influenced by Maya, he considers himself a material product and thus undergoes reactions of these material miseries. This is our situation. Now, Yudhishthira, of course, is a very greatly learned person. He knows Nidhi Shastra, he knows Dharma Shastra, he knows Atmiya Shastra. Nobody is as learned as Yudhishthira in all those Shastras. Very great example why Yudhishthira agreed to play this game of dices, an invitation of Kauravas. It is very clearly given by Yudhishthira himself. Because everybody is saying that when this Dhuta from Hastinapura came to invite Yudhishthira for a game of dice, everybody knew that something bad was happening because Yudhishthira is and Shagana is supposed to be very great cheats, and they may not be fair game may not be there, and something very bad may happen in that. So nobody was interested, and nobody was willing to go to his dice, and they were advising Yudhishthira also not to go. But Yudhishthira said that invitation had not come from Duryodhana. Duryodhana and Shaguni is very clever. They know that Yudhishthira knows all the Shastras. If it had the invitation come from Duryodhana, he could have refused. No, although he is a Kshatriya, he refuse also, considering many aspects. He can say that, okay, I will not, I'm not ready, I'm not willing to go for this game. But the invitation had come from Dhritarashtra only. Dhritarashtra only sent the invitation. Oh son, the rolls are ready to, the dices are ready to fall. So please come and play this game. It will be very nice to have you here and play this game. So Yudhishthira said that you cannot refuse the words of a father. Dhritarashtra was in the position of father to Yudhishthira at the time. After Pandu passed away, Dhritarashtra, by default, he became the father of Pandavas also. So Shastra say that one should not deny or unheed the words or instructions of the spiritual master and father. This is given in 3rd canto when Kadama Muni is speaking to sorry, Brahma is speaking to Kadama Muni. Kadama Muni was able to get a son who is a Supreme Personality of God himself, Kapila. Because of he had done so much hard work, tapasya for so many years as per instruction of Brahma. So Brahma is congratulating him. Yes, you have done well, my dear son. You have taken my words instruction very carefully, word to word, and you have executed that. And because of that, you're able to get a son like who is a part of Amsha of Krishna. So in that purport, it is said that in that verse, it is said that one should never disobey the instruction of father and the spiritual master. And in his purpose, Srila Prabhupada says they should be obeyed with a big yes, sir. So since invitation had come from father, from Dhritarashtra, Yudhishthira said that I am helpless. You have to go and play this game. Your instruction is from father only. I cannot deny that. So you can see that Yudhishthira is very well versed in Nidhi Shastra, Dharma Shastra, Shastra also. But now he bewilders. He is acting as a bewildered man, just like a common man who has no knowledge at all. Common man doesn't have any knowledge. Even devotees also sometimes, they have some knowledge, but in a very vital aspects, they do not go for knowledge. They do not have an open heart and understand things, but they follow their leaders. Whatever they speak, they will obey. Without using your own intelligence, without verifying the facts, they'll act on base of that. And speaking about Guru Tattva, the order of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada has given a very clear order that after he goes, when he is no longer there, 11 devotees he has, or disciples, have been selected to act as representatives only. But when Srila Prabhupada left, these 11 started acting as gurus. And this has gone for almost 50 years. And their disciples will never give up this. Okay, they will just fight because they don't read anything, they don't understand anything. But they just, like a parrot, they'll repeat whatever their leaders have said. So in that respect, they can be also concluded as a common man. Prakrita. So common man's understanding of violence and non-violence is everything is body oriented only. Violence means what something that happens bad to the body, and non-violence is trying to protect this body. So himsa as well as ahimsa in the common parlance is based on bodily relationships, or it's a bodily oriented knowledge. But Srila Prabhupada says in a very telling sentence that everyone is duty bound according to one's occupational duties. Everyone is duty bound according to one's occupational duties. So as a Kshatriya, he has to fight. Kshatriya has to fight. He has to rule. So there was nothing wrong in Yudhishthira fought this battle, fought this war. But in common man's parlance, they said, okay, this stand will be taken by others because Yudhishthira wanted to be king. He entered the battle, war, and so much destruction was a wholesale destruction. A common man may think like that. But Yudhishthira was not a common man, but now he's acting as if he's a common man. Although everything is perfectly known to Maharaja Yudhishthira, But now he is acting as a common man by the will of Krishna, so that he will not be convinced neither by great sages like Vyasadeva, nor by Supreme Personality himself, Krishna, because Krishna wanted Yudhishthira to receive knowledge from Bhishma. So what is he speaking, Yudhishthira? Aho me pashyadajnanam hirirudam duratmanam parakyasya dehasya vahyayo moksha akshonihir hadam. King Yudhishthira said, "Oh my Lord," discussing his thought only, "I am the most sinful man. Just see my heart, which is full of ignorance. This body, which is ultimately meant for others, has killed many, many phalanxes of men. So, again, the description of Akshani is given. Akshani is comprising of 21,870 chariots, same number of elephants, 109,650 infantry. Infantry means people on the battleground who is not either on horse or on the chariot. And then 65,000 cavalry. Cavalry is horses. It is called Akshani. And so many Akshanis were destroyed by this war. And he takes the blame for himself. He says that this body is after all meant for others. My body is meant for service to others only. But because of my ambition to become the emperor, I had utilized this body or this strength for destroying others rather than doing service to others. So it is a duty of all living entities to help others to their best or serve others to their best of abilities. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 22, verse 35, 10.22.35 says, Yadavad janma safalyam dehinam iha dehasu pranirate dhiya vacha shreya acharanam sada. It is a duty of every living entity. Yadavad janma safalyam, welfare activities for the benefit of others. Engage in welfare activities for the benefit of others by prane, is life, arte, by wealth, intelligence, and words. It's a very nice song. So it is actually spoken by Krishna to his cohort friends. So Krishna says that one should utilize one's intelligence, one's energy, one's wealth, one's health, body, everything for the service of others. And service of others actually means bringing these forgotten souls to Krishna. This is a real service. And for this real service, we should engage all our assets, the form of our intelligence, our mind, our wealth. Everything should be done to promote the greatest of all service, that is taking the forgotten souls or forgetful souls back to Krishna. So Yudhishthira is very unhappy. Instead of doing this, I have killed so many persons. So Yudhishthira, although he is perfect in all the sciences, because of Krishna's will, he was made to forget all this, and he is speaking like a common man. So the purpose is so that he'll be instructed by Bhishma Deva, just like Arjuna was instructed by Krishna. So this is the planning of Krishna. And in the next chapter, actually, we'll see how Vishmadeva is consoling Yudhishthira and revealing great knowledge, unprecedented knowledge that we see in the next chapter. Yeah, but we got 3 or 4 verses more. Next class we'll take that 4 verses and then proceed with the 9th chapter. Thank you very much. Any clarification you need?
Prabhuji, I have one question.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is said that when you the greatest service is to get the fallen souls back to Godhead, and then it also says one of the 10 offenses to instruct faithless person about the glories of the holy name. So are these not contradicting?
Which is offense you're speaking about? 10th offense, 10th or 9th?
9th offense is
9th offense. No, here it is forgotten souls means they are not started the devotion service. They have forgotten Krishna and they entered the material world, and they're using the sense gratification, living like a common man who have no idea of devotion service, who have no idea that we are souls. They are just based on their gunas, they are doing so many karmas, activities, and based on these activities, they are getting reactions, and they are entrapped in the cycle of beauty. This is because they have forgotten Krishna. Now, when we try to preach and bring them back to Krishna by preaching, then we speak about the glories of Krishna, the glories of chanting, and when one starts activities, devotional activities, especially chanting, and then he commits these offenses, then it is better to leave him. But that happens when he started devotional service, then it becomes offense. This is different. He is totally unaware of this. The person who is forgotten souls, who are totally unaware of this, and we are trying to bring him back by preaching. And once he is on the devotional platform, and then he is neglectful or forgetful and becomes offensive, then becomes offense.
okay. Okay,
Is it
Prabhuji.
clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, Shikalamaji, you're smiling. What is it? Yeah? And we cannot hear you. I think you're speaking, but maybe your microphone is working. No, even now we cannot hear you. I don't know. I am not able to hear. Are others able to hear her?
No, Prabhuji. We can't hear
No.
her.
No. What could
Hare
be the
Krishna.
problem?
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Okay.
Ah.
Okay, right.
Prabhu, one question. In this, King Yudhishthira, although he was such a great person, he became deluded. But and it is said that it is by the will of God only he got that delusion, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Right.
So
Because
everything
Yudhishthira
happens.
was deluded. Yes.
Everything is happening according to his will only. That is the crux, no, Prabhu.
In this particular case, Krishna had some plans because he wanted to please Bhishma. Bhishma is his greatest devotee. So, in order to please Bhishma, he is putting the Yudhishthira into a delusion. Same like way, in order to speak Bhagavad Gita, he's put Arjuna also into delusion. Same way, Parishad Maharaja also is also a very learned person, is a great devotee. He was made to act like that. So these are the purpose of Krishna in respect to what you call giving jnana or knowledge to living entities.
Yes.
That is his purpose.
It is
But
applicable to every living entity. It is applicable, no?
no,
This plan.
it is not like that. Krishna's plan is here is to help the living entities by giving the knowledge, isn't it? When living entity who is having not knowledge, but he wants to do some activities to please himself, his sensual pleasures, that is his decision. Krishna has nothing to do with that. So it doesn't mean that Krishna is responsible for all the activities of the living entities. It's not so. Krishna will not interfere with that. It is very clear if you look at that 5th chapter, verse 22. Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, verse 22. Very clearly says that we think that Krishna is partial, so he is making some people to act piously and other persons to act not piously and giving rewards of karma accordingly. This is only due to his bewilderment or jnana, jnana only. This is giving in verse number I think 14 or 15 of 15, I think 15, yes. Nadate kasyajit pabam na chaiva sukradam vibho enavardam jnanam tena muhyandi chandava. Says that the perfect Lord is not responsible for the sinful or pious acts of jivas, but since their eternal knowledge is covered by the eternal hostility to Lord, the living entities are bewildered by the ignorance and blame the Lord. Not so. Because they are ignorant, they are blaming, because I am suffering because Krishna made me act like this and I am getting the karmic reaction. Other persons he has helped and they are having the very nice life. So Krishna is responsible for everyone's pious and sinful activities. Not so. In these particular cases, Krishna wanted to impart knowledge to all living entities represented by Arjuna. So he is acting on his own. But generally speaking, living entities are themselves responsible because they are being endowed with the swecha. So they have to use their swecha nicely, perfectly with the instruction of Krishna, then act. Rather than act on their own and then blame Krishna and say that Krishna is responsible for this.
For that act, ഇതില് ഈ ശ്ലോകത്തിൽ പറയുന്നില്ലേ പ്രഭു, സർവസ്യ ചാഹം ഹൃദി സന്നിവിഷ്ടം മത്ത സ്മൃതി ജ്ഞാനം അപോഹനം ച വേദൈശ്വ സർവൈരഹമേവ. So സ്മൃതി and ജ്ഞാനം both are given by Lord only, no? അങ്ങനെ.
Both are given by Krishna as per the desires of the living entity. If the living entity wants to remember Krishna, he gives it a chance. If he wants to forget Krishna, he also gives a chance. It is a living entities who want to get knowledge. Krishna supplies knowledge either through himself or through his bona fide gurus.
Okay.
Krishna will do that, but ultimately it is a desire of the living entities who is responsible for the swecha, because he has been given this swecha, so he is responsible to act. It is
Maybe
said
that desire or that knowledge will come. It will not come to all the persons at the very same time. There will be a time, maybe in some places it is said that
yes, that is why
in 1,000 people only a few people can hear about me, like that it is.
Yes, it is that is right. That is why Krishna is sending so many preachers. It is a responsibility of preachers to preach and try to attract as many fallen souls as possible. But ultimately, that also depends on, we can try and we can preach and all that, but sometimes if their karma is very bad, they may be totally antagonistic to these words of Krishna or words of saints. They may not. But ultimately, sometimes something may happen, because it all depends on their activities, karma. And sometimes had they done some good karma in any of their previous life, maybe they may be able to willing, or they may be willing to hear the words of the Guru. Then they will start their spiritual life. Till that time, they will not start their spiritual life.
Yes. So the planning is there always.
No, planning is a positive planning by Krishna. He is interested in bringing back this winner, bringing back the fallen souls. That is his planning.
Yes,
But he will
yes.
not force. He will not force because there is a choice is always given. What Krishna wants, he wants every living entities to love him, isn't it? That is his desire. But love can exist only when there's a choice. If there is no choice, that is not love. You are given a choice whether to love Krishna or not to love Krishna. It is your choice. Now you exercise your choice to love Krishna, then that is love. Like for example, Krishna, Srila Prabhupada has given an example of a two youngster, teenage girl and boy. The boy cannot force the girl, love me. The girl on her own, I have to love the boy. So it is said that true love exists only when there's a choice. And the choice is whether to love Krishna or whether not to love Krishna. So that is within this jurisdiction of that is why you have to use your swecha very judiciously. But we are not doing it judiciously. You cannot blame Krishna. Krishna has planned in such a way that I did not choose correct. No, you cannot blame that. It is your own way. You cannot shirk away from your responsibility, see that everything is planned by Krishna only. No. You have to take the responsibility for action.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Manslay.
Right. Good question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpadravascha, Subhasantu Vevashi, Vidanam Pavanevi, Vaishnavi.